Hello everybody, today we're going to be taking a look at this Westinghouse 175 watt Mercury Vapor NEMA head light fixture. I recently picked this up at the second use building material place for $25. And as you can see here, well, you would think it's missing stuff, but I do have the refractor assembly here. The only thing it didn't come with really was a bulb, but that's okay. We have bulbs, of course. So we'll take a look at the refractor assembly here. It is the original refractor assembly. It does have the Westinghouse logo on it here. Very nice. It is quite dirty. That's to be expected though. And pretty typical Westinghouse where they just crimp a couple areas of the reflector here to hold the refractor on. It's very common for them. It looks like somebody has replaced the rivets for the clamps here with some screws and bolts or nuts and bolts. Maybe they did that to refurbish it. Not entirely sure. But I did find this sticker interesting. Of course, it says it's an industrial wall-mounted sconce. How fancy can you get in describing this fixture? Maybe we'll put that in the title. I don't know. An industrial wall-mounted sconce. Okay, then. It says with a drill bit and a couple... Well, I don't know. It says something there. With a drill bit and a couple something. Anyway, part 2 of 2, because part 1 of 2 is the arm here. And yeah, it has the exact same information on it here. It looks like there's another sticker underneath it too. Interesting. We'll have to take a look at that. Since we're looking at the arm, here's the top of the NEMA head. You definitely can see the Westinghouse logo here. And it's seen better days. We have our photo cell. It's a Fixture Pierce. Has a number 8 on the front there. Looks to be in decent shape. Probably still works. We'll have to give it a try. Of course, our photocell socket, and we got our arm. Interestingly enough, with the arm here, it's an American Electric arm, AE, very cool. And here's our ballast inside. Definitely looks like a critter was making a home in here at some point. I don't know if the label will still be readable. We'll have to find out. But yep, there's our ballast and socket. Pretty typical Westinghouse fashion here. And you can see the Westinghouse logo right there in the middle of the socket at the bottom. So that's our industrial wall-mounted sconce because, you know, let's make it sound fancy. Industrial wall-mounted sconce. Well, of course, the first thing is we're going to have to clean this thing up. We got to get these stickers off of here. They're Sharpie markers. I'm sure they put that on there in case the sticker falls off. But I think for $25, this isn't too bad of a find. It'll definitely give us a project, and I enjoy fixing these lights up. So, yeah, we'll start getting some stickers off and get this arm off. Taking the arm off here, it certainly looks like somebody did one heck of a job here wiring this up. Boy, that is something. What in the world are they doing here? They got a million layers of electrical tape, and I'm very curious to find out what is underneath all of this and how they wired it up. Looks like they put some type of rubber hose around it. It looks bigger than this casing here to try to separate everything. Yeah, definitely some type of rubber hose here to separate the two wires. Okay then. That goes right in the garbage. And what did they do for connection here? Okay, look at this. They didn't even put the black wire with the black or the white to the white. They mixed them up. Not that it matters that much, but couldn't you at least do that? Okay, we're back in the day where we soldered stuff. Look at that. Of course. I don't know how you would have gotten the color of wire mixed up, though. Unless you'd have it mixed up on the other end. Yeah, that is something. Terrible. What in the world is going on there? Goodbye, industrial wall-mounted sconce. Definitely with some type of other sticker underneath here. Taking a look inside, we definitely need to vacuum this out. And then we'll see if we'll be able to get the ballast out of here. It looks like they have Phillips screws holding it on down there in the bottom. I'm surprised. Usually it's some type of, you know, ratchet or socket or something you can use to take it out. Hard to see, but sure enough, we do have some Phillips screws down in there. So we'll see if we can loosen them at all. Hopefully they won't be too stuck. That would be annoying. Ooh, that's working nice. And all we need to do is just loosen these. And we should be able to twist the whole thing. And it comes right out. Now, we're getting hung up by the fact that we have photocell wires in here. So let's see what ones are going where, and we'll have to disconnect them. One thing to note while we're doing it is take a look at where all your wires are when you take this apart. Sometimes things aren't labeled, so take a picture or something before we, progress, because we're definitely going to need to replace some of these wires. They're crispy and cracking, and that's not safe. So we got disconnected what we need. We should be able to just pull this right out of here now. Let's go ahead and see what we can read here. Okay, well, not much. You can see the Westinghouse logo, wiring diagram. Does that say 230? 230 volt? Interesting, it's not 120. Huh. Okay. I can't read the lamp anymore, but it does say H. What is that, 39? Okay. I'm going to have to look at this a little closer. Sure enough, the label says 230 volt H39 lamp. So we're going to proceed anyway. And I don't know what will happen putting it on 120. I'm expecting absolutely nothing. Let's look at this photocell here. Oh, how interesting though. The photocell is 105 to 130 volt. Okay. Maybe it is 120. I don't know. It's also, it looks like it says 230 and then line volts next to it. Doesn't it look like that? And then over here we have H39. But again, line volts, it could be on either side. Maybe that 230 means something else. Because I don't see next to H39 a label saying, lamp or anything like that. It's just not there. So I'm not sure. Again, we'll proceed and see what happens. So I'm going to get this cleaned up, brush it off with a one of these really cheap brushes here. That works really well, actually. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with the housing here. Get it cleaned up the best I can. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll definitely be better than it is. And the arm, well, that'll have to get cleaned up separately. Got to get all this residue off, so we'll just set that aside for now, and we'll focus on getting these two things presentable. It's the next day, and, well, we got the head cleaned up here. It's better than it was, so I do like that. I got some penetrating oil on here to loosen up this bolt, because it is very stuck in place. Also scrubbed out the inside here. That's a lot better as well. Got the photocell socket out, so we have just the head itself now. And tried to clean this up. It had, just some green moss and stuff going on around it, but it's better than it was. It's a little scraped up, but the photocell covers that up, so it doesn't really matter. Scrubbed the ballast here a little bit to get rid of any surface rust. Of course, it's still rusty, but that's to be expected. This label is falling off as we speak. As you can see, more of it is missing now. But it's a lot cleaner than it was. I haven't brushed off this side to brush off these coils yet. I'll need to do that. Just use a light brush. You don't want to ruin them. But I cleaned up the connectors here, so they're all ready to go. Didn't really do much with the socket here. It's already in a pretty decent shape. Looks like a little bit more cleaning needs to be done on the inside there. I'll inspect these wires to see if they're okay to use again. As you can see, I took off one of these clamps on the refractor assembly, and I really want to do something different. They used these gigantic nuts and bolts here, and they only put one in. The other rivet isn't even attached to anything anymore, and it really does need two to clamp correctly. So I wanted to take this off and see what would be the best fit. So I got some smaller ones that we can put in there for both, and that'll definitely help. And of course, the photocell socket itself is looking just fine. We got the pretty typical little burn marks going on from it sitting by the ballast its whole life. And this wire's definitely needing to be replaced. So I got some new connectors here, and I think the next thing I'm going to do is work on repairing these latches getting this little rivet out and putting them on with some new nuts and bolts. After taking the clips off, I decided to clean up the refractor assembly here. Turned out pretty nice. Got all the sticker residue and Sharpie off of there. Very good. And we'll take another look at that wonderful Westinghouse logo. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get these reinstalled on here using some smaller nuts and bolts. Clips are reinstalled. I have about 1 million of these little nuts and bolts here, so I decided to use them. Sure, they're still a little long like the old ones, but at least we have both in there. And they got little lock washers built into the nuts there. Very nice. And that's much sturdier than what was there, and it'll allow it to clamp on there correctly. So the refractor assembly is done. I wonder if we'll be able to loosen this now, because it's been sitting for a while. Ugh, I can't tell if I'm shearing something or what. Oh, something's happening. We got movement back and forth. Let me see if it's the whole thing or what. It looks like it. Are we getting at that on the other side too? I can't tell. My whole hand moves when it happens. I'm pretty sure it's the whole thing doing that. So we're getting somewhere with it. But I really don't want to break it off. Yeah, it's really in there. So this bolt is just there to set the light if you want it up at more of an angle or not. I suppose it's fine where it is, but it would have been nice if we were able to move it. I really don't want to shear it off, so we're just going to let it be for now. Maybe it needs more time. Okay, moving on. We can do some electrical things here. We're going to need to refresh these wires, because that is not exactly the safest thing in the world. And we'll get some fresh wires going on here. Got some wires done here and with our spade connectors. So we got the, let's see, this is the power coming from the photocell. There's 2 different spots it needs to tap on the ballast. So we'll do the lower one first, and then this one will come up to the top. And then, of course, our neutral and our power in. And on the ballast itself here, we have a neutral wire that goes to it and to the socket. So I made that long enough that it can kind of loop like this and then branch off. The annoying part is I didn't want to use these that are totally enclosed in the plastic, but that's all I could get a hold of, unfortunately. And obviously the wires are too big to fit inside of these things, so I just cut them a little bit to accommodate that. Now the wires do fit in the connector, and it's just this housing isn't exactly the best thing ever. And yeah, so that worked fine. They're crimped in there nice. They're not going anywhere. So we got both of those done. And the wire from the ballast to the socket here is totally fine. There's no cracks in it. I think the black colored wires have more something in them to keep them, you know, nicer than the white ones here that tend to crack. So that is as far as we've gotten there. I've cleaned this up a little bit, just giving it a quick brush. So now, I suppose it's time to put this back together, but I'm going to wipe up all this penetrating oil that is here, and then we'll start reassembly. Okay, we got this wiped up the best we can. So I suppose we'll want to put the wires that we can on this first, so that we're not messing with that later. And that includes getting the socket on here. So we'll reinstall the socket, and that just fits right on here. We have our screws for that. I believe they're these Phillips ones here, and they just go on the sides, and we'll get that screwed into place. As you can see, we'll get one side started, and then we'll do the other. So let's get this one down. I must be crazy or something, but this doesn't seem like the screws are fitting. That one on the other side fits fine. Oh, okay, now we're doing okay. Okay, so we'll get this down on here, and again, not overly tight, just snug on the porcelain here. Great. So we have our lamp, and that will go over here to this plug. So we'll slide that on there. Then we have a neutral that goes on right here. So we'll get that connector put on, if I can hold this correctly. We'll slide the neutral on here. There we go. Now this is to hopefully loop around and reach over here for the other neutral. And it looks like we should be okay. Wonderful. Oh, yeah, see, that's nice. Now it's one less connection. Loops right around, fits right on there. And these wires I'm using actually came out of the Philips consumer grade NEMA head. And they held up well inside that hot environment. So I'm sure this extra wire here will work out fine. Okay, so we're looking good there. Let me just get these wires down so they're not stressed at an angle. Okay, now we have the neutral, or actually the positive here from the photocell socket. So we need to get that reinstalled. We'll guide our wires back through here. And our photocell socket will sit like so. Now note that there's north here and a little triangle nub sticking out. And if we look underneath, we'll find that here as well. And that's just to prevent you from turning it all the way around and getting the wires all messed up inside. So we'll just set this back on there. And we'll take our screws and get those ready to be put back in to the top here. We'll get those screwed down. Very good. And we have north here. I usually make north straight on. So we'll just point it straight out there. And then we'll tighten these down. Okay, so inside we have our wires here. The ones for the ballast. And then, of course, these will be hooked up. I took a look at this white wire here. We seem to be okay with it still. It's not really cracking, just the outer coloring of it is flaking off, but we don't have any cracks in it leading to, you know, shorts potentially. And the black wire here is fine as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just get these trimmed up and ready. Now we need to get the ballast back in here, but we need to put our screws in place first. The annoying part is that we have these lock washers on the screws, and to be honest, it's kind of hard to keep them up while you're installing it, but I kind of do it upside down. So, because normally you'd want it to sit like this, you know, you're working at a workbench. But out in the field, if you were doing this, and well, I suppose you just change out the whole head at that point, it would be upwards. So you wouldn't have the problem of the washer being the wrong direction. So what I do is hold it upside, well, this is correct side up, but hold it like so, and kind of get it in there and hook it up, because we have the hooks here. Now, the one thing that we also want to pay attention to is we have these last two connections here that need to be made. So let's go ahead and do that while we have the space here. Now, this wire used to come all the way up here and then loop down to the lower one, but I'm just going to go and have it come right to this one first, like it really matters. I mean, they're both the same thing, so we'll get both of these on here. So that's our 120 volt to both of the coils back here and here. So there's a closer look. We got our 120 after the photocell, our neutral, and our lamp right here that'll go to the bulb. So I'm just going to make sure all those are seated nicely. Wonderful. And then we're going to reach down in here and hopefully twist this on. And it would go like this, but we have those washers underneath there. So let me get that lined up. Held it upside down, got it lined up so that the lock washers are on the correct side. So we'll tighten this down. Again, snug is perfectly fine. We don't need anything too tight. Wonderful. There's our ballast and socket reassembled. Looking nice. Okay. So we have our neutral here and our positive, and we also have the neutral from the ballast and lamp. So this is all looking good. All the wires are looking nice. We don't need all of this wire, so I'm just going to trim it. Okay, we have our bracket here. That could really be put on at any time, but we'll put it on now. We'll just get it all recentered. Now, I can't really Maybe we could try bending this back into shape. Let me see what we can do. We have a very heavy weight here, and maybe we can... There we go. It is much flatter now. Using the old sledgehammer head. Of course, it'll probably bend again once we get it reinstalled, but hey, at least we can get these on easier now because it's lined up. Okay, so we won't get these in all the way. We need some play naturally to get the arm in there. But there's our head, all done. Okay, now we want to put on a cord. We got our cord, yet another appliance cord here. That'll never end. And let's see. Of course, we have the ribbed side and the smooth side. The smooth side is our positive. That's our power in. I don't know how that got over there, but here it is. So we will bring it over and get them twisted together here. Wire nut. Little tug, make sure. Okay. Now we have our two neutrals. We'll get those together here. And then our ribbed side of the wire is our neutral. So we'll take that and again, twist all those together. I suppose we could have done all three at once, but this is what we decided upon. And we'll take our wire nut again and get that there. Okay, now you may have seen I took this screw out and I got two washers here. I do want to ground it just to be safe. So my idea is we will take this wire, put a little hook in it, and we will get that to go around, or in between rather, these two washers hopefully, in some capacity. And that will hold our ground wire on here. Okay, there's our ground wire. It's at least attached to something metal, which is connected to the ballast and everything. And in a way, I suppose it acts as a cord restraint. But this is kind of a little tight, so we're just going to pull these apart a little bit more to give it some more room to breathe. And we'll try our best to find a place that we can just put these wires. Now, again, it really is important that you choose a cord that you can feed through an arm, because this will fit right through there without issue. Now, there's really no way to really put a cord restraint on this, so our ground, I suppose, will be our cord restraint. But anyway, there we go. We got it all rewired, cleaned up. Now, let's see, we can put our refractor assembly on here. Let's see, where's the Westinghouse logo? Gotta have that in the front. So we'll get that lined up. Of course, these latches just go up and on. Same thing with the other side. There we go. Oh, that's much better. When it just had the one bolt in there before, it really wasn't that good of a seal. But hey, I'm happy with this. This turned out great. Now, we just need to get the arm cleaned up, and we'll get it installed and give it a test. So it has most certainly been a while since the last clip you just saw. But we got the arm all cleaned up, all the paint is removed, the fixture's wired up, and inside I have chosen to put in a nice, clear, a little bit used Lifeguard Mercury vapor bulb. Very fitting Westinghouse Lifeguard here for the Westinghouse fixture. So now, let's go ahead, get the camera set up, and turn it on. Okay, so let's turn the lights off, and we'll plug it in 3, 2, 1. Nothing at all. Okay then. Attempt number 2, we'll try a different photocell. Here we go. Still nothing. Attempt number 3, we'll try a different bulb. Still nothing. Let's try a known good bulb. Still nothing. Upon closer investigation, it was discovered that the wires that connect to these terminals here were not actually connected, and were just burned completely off. So what I've decided to do is take a little piece of sandpaper and sand off the coating on the outside to expose the wire itself. I'm going to lean this into it and bend this up and hopefully get the two of them to meet. And my idea then is I can use the crimpable end of this and slide it over both and hold that on there to the terminal. Yes, we'll have another terminal. I'll probably just cut that piece off, but that's what we're going to try to do. Is it pretty? Not exactly. Will it work? I guess we'll find out. We got it all put back together, so let's see what we get. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Okay, to be honest, I did not like that for 1 second. I heard a lot of popping. I'm sure those connections are absolutely terrible. Probably because I really should have cleaned off the connector that it was going to and not just the wire itself. That probably would have also helped in making a better connection, but I did not think of doing that. So here we are. It has stopped making the popping noise, and that is positive. So, got a wonderful clear mercury vapor bulb, and I guess we'll let it warm up. Okay, so after getting some absolutely crazy colors and noises on warm-up, during that, we saw the different pinks come into the mix, and there were some very loud bing, tinging noises during that time, something expanding for sure with the heat. But, yeah, here we are. Hasn't made any more sparking noises since the very first ignition. So that is also very positive. And I suppose let's go ahead and see how well it's lighting the room up. And before we do that, though, it looks like we're sitting at about 95 lux or so, if I haven't mentioned that already. I just want to note this nice pattern that the refractor is making. It's making a V shape here, kind of fans out the arc tube there at the top, making a triangle shape. Very cool. I like that distribution of light with this refractor. Very nice with a clear bulb. I'm sure we get a different result with a coated one or deluxe white. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Lifeguard mercury vapor bulb in there. Gotta love it. Okay, let's see how well it's lighting up the room here as I back up and hopefully don't bump into anything. It's lighting it up very nicely. We got that beautiful mercury vapor blue-green color. In person, it's more of a, bluish white, but of course on camera, we get more of that greenish color. Gotta love it. Let's take a quick look at the lux meter here. We're getting about 94, 95 lux right beneath the light. Absolutely beautiful. Let's take another look at the bulb in here. Nice steady arc, strong. I'm so glad we could get this thing working. So let's watch it cool down. Here we go. Look at the glow of those electrodes there. Very cool, very nice. I like that a lot. Oh, the camera's shifting around. What a wonderful iPhone. I really do hope you enjoyed this video going over cleaning up this Westinghouse 175 watt mercury vapor NEMA head light. Wonderful little cleanup there. Definitely was unsure whether it would fire up on 120 volt, but I guess we got that answer there. And well, now it sits here on the wall with some of the other fixtures. Very nice. Once again, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and also please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. And thank you very much for watching.